What's up everyone? This is LeetCode 15 threesome. In this challenge we are given an integer array nums. We are to return all the triplets nums I, nums j, and nums k such that I does not equal j, I does not equal k, and j does not equal k. And nums I plus nums j plus nums k equals exactly 0. Okay, so what this means, which at first I didn't understand, but I think it just needs a little bit of clarification, is that I and j can be the same number, but it cannot be the same index, right? I'm sure most of you probably understood that already, but I didn't understand that in the beginning, and so it made it took me a little bit of time to understand. But so I and j cannot be the same index, but they can be the same number. So if the number occurs multiple times in the array, then it's okay to use it, but it cannot be the same index that is used twice. Okay, so with that out of the way, I thought I'll just do a little example walkthrough, and that first what we want to do is we want to sort our array, right? Just because it makes it easier to avoid duplicates, and it allows us to deploy the two-pointer method properly. So you'll see once we get into the code, but we should sort this first, and then it'll also help us with explaining this. So let's say we wanted to complete this with this array, right? So if we start with I at 1, right? So I at 1 is -1, right? So I at 1 is -1. Okay. We now want our two pointers. So we'll initialize our two pointers to be, or we'll call it j will be at wherever I plus 1 is, right? Which in this case would also be -1. And we'll initialize our second pointer k, which will be at the back of the array. So in this case it will be the length of the array -1. But in this case I'm not going to write that because that's going to be really long. So we're going to call it n-1, n standing for the length of the array. Okay. So in this case that would end up being index 5, which would then be the number 2. So then in this case what we would do is we would then carry out I plus j plus k, right? Which would then give us an exact total of 0. So in this case we can say that I 1, j 2, and k 5, I believe. 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this would be 5. This would be what we would return. At least we would return this and any other potential triplets. But in this case, this is just running through the scenario of how we're figuring out our triplets. And we want to return this in an array. So what this would look like instead would be something like we'd have our array, which would have -1, -1, sorry, and 2. So this would be what we return as one of our arrays that contains triplets. Now this does say it doesn't contain duplicate triplets, but as I explained earlier, it's more related to the indexes, not the numbers themselves. Anyway, so let's get into the code. That was a long explanation, but hopefully that clarifies some of it. So let's go here. Cool. So to begin with, we're going to declare our result list array, right? So list which will contain our integer. Sorry, that should be this integer, which we'll call result, which will be a new array list. Cool. Now we want to sort our array. So this is pretty simple. Arrays.sort. We'll pass in nums. Cool. So now we're going to do a for loop, which will allow us to skip our duplicates for, well, this allows us to run through to iterate through this, and then we'll skip our duplicates. So let's do this. So for int I equals 0, we're then going to do I is less than nums.length. And, oh, sorry, -2. The reason why we say -2 is because we can't have duplicates of our integers. And so we can't run for more than -2 length, because we have two integers that we've already iterated through. So, and we'll have our increment. And so here is the if statement that will allow us to skip any duplicates for the first element. So this is going to state that if I is greater than 0, and, so we're satisfying two conditions, and nums I equals exactly nums I minus 1, then we will continue. So if this isn't the case, we'll break our loop. If this is the case, we will continue, right? And so beyond this, we're now going to initialize or declare our two pointers. So we're going to call this pointer left, and we will declare this to be I plus 1. And we're going to do pointer right, which is going to be nums.length minus 1. Now this is, these represent J and K, but I'm going to label them left and right so that we understand it for clarity which is left pointer, which is right pointer. But obviously you can name them whatever you feel fit. So now to run our two pointer system, we're going to use a while loop, which states that while left is less than right. We're then going to do our calculation for whether our sum is, well, the calculation for our sum of our three indexes, right, of our I and our two pointers. So in this case, we're going to do int sum, just put a space, int sum equals nums I plus nums left plus nums right. Right, there we go. So now we can start to do the logic that does the comparison, right? So if sum is exactly equal to 0, which is the result we're looking to gain, then what we're looking to do is add it to our array list, right? So in this case, we type result dot add, and then we want to pass in arrays as list, and now we're going to add in the integers that are at our indexes for our I and our two pointers, right? Or I, J, and K technically. So nums left and nums right. And then we're going to increment by 1. We're going to increment our left pointer by 1. That way we can skip any, sorry, we don't need to do this yet. My apologies. Now we need to look at how we're going to skip our duplicates for our second element and our duplicates for our third element. So what we want to do is use a while loop, which will state that while left is less than right, and so again two requirements. Nums left, very similar to what we used up top for to skip any duplicates for the first element. Nums left plus 1, and then we will increment by 1 to move our pointer along, right? And so we're going to do the same here. So I'm just going to copy this. We'll do the same here, except what we'll do is this will be right, this will be right, this will be -1, and this will be well, this should also be right and decrementing because we're moving the right pointer to the left by 1. Cool. So this is our while loop that we satisfy. Once that's satisfied, or if it isn't, regardless, we still want to move our pointers inward. So we're gonna increment our left by 1 so that the left pointer moves to the right by 1, and our decrement our right pointer by 1 so our right pointer moves to the left by 1. This is so that we can move on to our next cycle in our loop, right? And so this is what will happen if our sum is exactly equal to 0. We will then move on, right? This is the logic that states that we will add it to our arrays list and move on. However, if this isn't the case, so else if our sum is less than 0, meaning that our sum is too small, well, what we want to do is increment the left side by 1. I'm actually going to respace this because I think this could be clearer. Yeah. We're going to increment our left pointer by 1 because we sorted it earlier so that it's now in ascending order or non-decreasing order. We now need to increase the number that is on the left. So we increment our left pointer by 1 so that we can try and bring our number up to see, is it going to bring us to be either equal to 0 or greater than 0, right? However, if our sum is bigger than 0, then we're going to go with an else case that states that the right then needs to move in, because our only other option left besides either equaling 0, wherever that is here, and our sum being smaller than 0 is for our sum to be bigger than 0. And in that case, we need to bring the number on the right down by 1 to see if we can meet our requirements. So that's really it. Then we just need to return our result, and hopefully, although I normally do have some kind of type error somewhere. Nice, okay, there we go, no problem. A solution that's accepted. With, I'd say, somewhat better than average runtime and memory. Not the fastest, but hopefully a solution that's understandable. Anyway, if this helps, please like, subscribe. If it didn't, please leave me a comment letting me know what I need to re-explain or what you need help with. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.